think I'm unmuted. Okay. Oh, no. How long should this be? I need you to tell me when its time is up.
Yeah, you have basically 25 to 30 minutes to share.
Okay.
Our meeting closed at 7:30. I just want to make sure we have enough time for input at the end. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Dora for the meditation because I want to stress that I call myself a Catholic Buddhist. And because my parents were converts, the Buddhism wasn't there. They were very devout Catholics. But my mom would always refer to Kuan Yin. We always had a statue in the house, but they never taught us much about it. I just knew that my mother honored the Kuan Yin and it was always sitting there. And so I want to thank Dora. That brought me back. And what I just said about being a Catholic Buddhist has to do with what I want to share today. And also, I'm very glad to have Dave. Is it Dave Hutt? Is it who talked about the Zen and the koan study? Because when Nut contacted me a few days ago and said, would you like to give a talk? Normally, I would, I'm like, oh boy, okay, I'll do it. But I became a Zen Buddhist in 2015. And it all kind of came along. I'm really a Vipassana. I call myself also a Zen Vipassana meditator. But the Zen Buddhism just sort of kept falling in place. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about synchronicity in what I want to say. And so I became through Bruce Blackman. Now, he is the teacher that I had when I was in Baltimore with the Zen group there. So what happened was I was attending kind of a Vipassana group at a local church, Unitarian church. And then I noticed that on Wednesday nights, they had a Zen group. So I said, I like to explore that. And everything just kept going along and it fell in place. And I found myself taking Jukai in 2015, even when I knew I was moving to California. And so I'm very new to Zen, but I just kept going in what I call the flow. So Bruce, who passed away about 2 years ago, was a wonderful teacher, and he kept pushing me to be what's called a Hoshi, to be a dharma holder. And I call myself kind of reluctant, but because I believe so much in him, I said, okay, you think so? Okay, I'll just go this route. I kept going. And then he recommended that I join or I attend the Morning Star Zendo group, which is in New Jersey. And here's the amazing thing. It is led by a Jesuit priest who is a Roshi. And there's so many Roshis in the group. And I just couldn't help it because my father has a strong background with the Jesuits. All right. And so last year, the Morningstar Zendo, Father Kennedy asked if I would give a talk. And I have to admit, I'm like very reluctant. I don't like large groups. I like to stay in the background. But I felt because Bruce Blackman urged me, I thought, okay, I've got to honor whatever he thinks. And so I did it. So I did a talk last year in June, was a little bit nervous. And I thought, phew, got that over with. And then this past fall, one of their Roshi teachers, Amy Yi, who happens to also be Cantonese, asked if I would give another talk. And I decided to be more relaxed about it. And so I came up with a talk. So then when you asked me, I thought to myself, hey, my life is so busy, but I already got this thing. I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to repeat what I did. But it's kind of an odd talk, but I'm not even going to worry about it because I want to tell you, this group makes me so comfortable. And I'm not a person who likes crowds. And I want to say something, Dave, when he said that he disappeared, that was wow. Because when I was conversing with Amy Yee, as I was telling her that, okay, I'll try to do a talk for you. It's a little bit hard for me. And then I told her that there's a half of me that wants to do my jail work and be out in the world. And there's another half. I told her, and I used that word. I said, there's another half of me that wants to disappear. And so when Dave said that, I thought, oh, wow, I know what he means. That's what I want to do. But yet, I mean, I don't know. You can't really do both, I guess. Not right now, I can't. So with that, I want to read to you the words that I came up with. And I just feel totally relaxed. I don't know if they're going to resonate with you or not, but I just thought I want to share this with you, partly because after I gave this talk, I realized how much I learned about myself. It's so much like the journaling that I have my guys do at Elmwood. As you write, you discover something that you didn't know until you put it down on paper. And so that's what happened to me. And then I'll say more. So wait a minute, I just lost my Zoom window here. Okay. And so it's only 10 minutes because that's all I had. And by the way, in order to give this talk, I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning because New Jersey, they meet at 7 in the morning. So that's 4 a.m. here in California. So I've done this twice. So I get up at 3:30 to give a talk, but it's worth it. So here it is. And I'm just amazed how relaxed I am. And it's because you guys are so good. Okay, so this is a talk. And they call it Words of Encouragement. And I already told you about who Bruce Blackman is. Okay. So I said, being rather new to Zen, I have to admit to a certain hesitancy to being able to offer proper words of encouragement. Bruce Blackman was a gentle teacher who nudged me to be a Hoshi, and I call myself a reluctant one. However, my intuition tells me to jump in and go with the flow of whatever comes to me. And indeed, the words flow and synchronicity, and odd as it may seem, or maybe not, the Tao, as in that Eastern approach to life, have kept appearing on my radar. So this is what I will be talking about. There is music I play regularly in our community hot tub called Zen Flow, which has me wondering, what is Zen Flow exactly? What does it mean for others? Does it connect with synchronicity and to Taoism? Just 2 days ago, I was with a friend who mentioned flow. And so I asked her what it meant to her. She said, when she felt in the flow, life was going smoothly, as if she were on the right path. She felt peaceful and happy. She added that when she felt out of the flow, as if life had jolted her off her path, then she would pause, step back, and let go to regain her balance, her direction. Well, this sounded to me like meditation. Recently, I was drawn to a book I had read 10 years ago. Its title is The Tao of Psychology by Jean Shinoda Bolen. It was the subtitle that actually attracted me very strongly. Synchronicity and the Self. Synchronicity fascinates me because it happens for me again and again, such that I feel not just a spirituality, but a mystical connection to something out there, what I call the universe, what others call God, or the Tao, or the way. I've never heard Taoism come up in any meditation group, so I do hope I'm not off track. In the book, The Tao of Personal Leadership by Diane Dreyer, the author quotes Abraham Maslow, who happens to be a favorite person of mine, who said back in 1962 that, and this is quote, the Taoists and the Zen Buddhists were able 1,000 years ago to see what we psychologists are only beginning to be aware of. I also have read in another source that Buddhism, this is a quote, Buddhism is the original CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So I can't help but think of meditators who speak of having an experience during meditation, which cannot be totally explained, except that a sense of oneness is involved. Is this sudden awareness an experience of the Tao? And related to this are synchronicities in which an unseen hand seems to be bringing together events or people or things in amazing coincidences, of which I will describe one arising from my jail work. Okay, so here comes something from my jail work, which I would love to share more with. But anyway, here's one thing. In my jail course that I call the Kindness Project, I show films. One is doing Vipassana, and a second is Dharma Brothers, all about 10-day meditation courses set in prisons in India and Alabama. I had a particularly receptive inmate, and this is back in Maryland, who completed my course, and because of his unique maturity, I asked him to assist with the next series. My course runs for 8 classes. Well, in Maryland, it was 6 classes, and in California, it's now 8. I was using the jail library to hold my classes in a rather tight space. And in this particular class, I was showing a film, and Ben had already seen it. So we chatted quietly at the back of the class. I told him I had a book I very much felt he ought to read. It was The 7-Story Mountain by Thomas Merton, which I myself had reread time and again. And the film was coming to the end, so I let Ben return to his seat. He did. But just 2 minutes later was back at my side with a book in his hand and a look of amazement on his face. Because of the tight space of the library, his seat was right next to a bookshelf. He had been thinking about what I had said, turned his head to the right, and there, inches from his face, was the 7-Story Mountain, the exact same black edition I had intended to bring him from home. Wow. So it is at times like this that I feel there is something much bigger out there, a connecting energy that happens to flow. And when we are in it, all is well. Is this being with the Tao, which is also called the way or the path? Is that path everybody's path? And when these synchronicities happen again and again, are they meant to be guides to keep us staying on a certain path in Zen flow? In the book on personal leadership, there were poetic lines labeled Tao number 20. The poem describes the Tao leader followed by a statement that it is meditation that helps to produce the sense of detachment that the Tao leader has. So I end with these poetic lines, wondering whether flow, Zen flow, synchronicity, and the Tao, and what life is all about, are all the same thing. So here are those lines from Tao number 20. The Tao leader practices detachment while others are collecting things. I alone have nothing. In their eyes, a fool. While they are clever, confident, I appear indifferent, drifting at sea without a compass. They march forward with a purpose, while I remain detached, delighted by distant harmonies, nourished by the source. So thank you. So that's what I said to this Zen group. And I really am still a beginner Zen person. I don't know that much about Zen. But then the next day, I kept rereading this poem, and things started coming to me, maybe like a koan is supposed to, and I'm just not good at koans. I don't do much with them. And so this is what I added the next day to my talk. Okay, I have been sitting with the idea of detachment and recognize that is how I am addressing life these days. So this was last December. I am slimming down my files, my pantry, my bookshelves, and my wardrobe, wanting to leave more and more of things. I am being pulled in my mind to the Tao and seek to be delighted by distant harmonies and nourished by the source. Right? So that's what I thought, oh, great, Nut, I have something I don't have to think about. And so I thought, let me test it on this group. And that's exactly where I am. I'm feeling more of what I learned, I became a meditator, say about 20 years ago, actually because of a trip to India. And I kept reading, it said, the more spiritual you really are, the less attached you are to, the material world. But this is the first time I really felt I really want to disappear. But as I tell my friends, I say, but I am married. And so I forget about it right now. And so that's really what I want to say. And I want to use the rest of the time. I'm not really watching the clock. I really want to tell you a lot more about my jail course, because there's so much synchronicity that it brought me into the jail work. It brought me to Zen. I don't try to do anything, and things just keep falling in place. And that's when I thought, yeah, I think there's a Zen flow, and things will happen. But as I say, I feel pretty rooted, and so I can, be blown back and forth a little bit. But that rootedness, I think, has to do with my, I don't know, I guess with my Buddha nature or something like that. So I want to open this up for you to ask me questions. And I have so many things I could read that my guys, and I had women also in Maryland, and I could tell you a lot more stories, but I think I'll leave it open. If you want to know more about my history and what I'm doing at Elmwood, then welcome. So I'm just going to stop there, and I'm going to see what comes out of you all. I noticed, I think there are just 16 of us. It's like a perfect screen. So any questions, I welcome them.